Hello, Watem here and welcome back to small Higurashi When They Cry. Let's continue with a fragment of Himatsubushi. Oh, this piece is the only one that's so distorted. That's because it's from long before June 1983. Therefore, the existence of this piece has no effect whatsoever on the game we're playing on this board. But is this really a useless piece? The identity of Rule Y has been completely exposed by now. With the backing of the mighty organization, it is powerful enough to swallow up the small solidarity of individuals. I almost give up on this game because of its irrational power. That's why I'm thinking that maybe there's a piece hidden somewhere that's strong enough to fight against such a formidable enemy. Mamoru Akasaka works at a police headquarters in Tokyo. Might have the power to stand up to such a vast conspiracy. Can his power withstand even Rule Y? Just like Keiichi Maibara defeated Rule Z. Will he be able to defeat Rule Y so easily? We need everyone's strength. So Akasaka's strength is needed as well. Wait, that's it? I was expecting to spend a whole episode on this. I guess we will... Yeah, I guess I'll do it in order of how it appears in the connecting fragments. Go Hanekakushi then. Okay, this one seems different. Maybe not. In order for Keiichi Maibara to become a game piece that can lead everyone, there's something he has to learn about first. The piece that's very painful, pitiful and sad. He has to learn about his friends, and he has to learn not to doubt them. He doesn't know the importance of trusting his friends. He doesn't know, just yet. The slight mistrust grows into paranoia, and Keiichi Maibara is trapped within Rule X. At the end of Rule X, Keiichi leaves a sad note, and dies. While it may be very bitter and very painful, it also puts him through the process of learning something very important. Hey, Hanyu. You didn't have to apologize. In a few days, he left Hinmazawa to attend his relative's funeral. Tragically, he experienced an outbreak. But I think this was necessary as his first step towards learning something important. The very first step towards making out Rule X and eventually defeating it. When this piece was all I had, I didn't even think about that. Let's think of that for... So I'm gonna guess that then that the 7 fragments are short couple minute things, and then the final one is longer, hopefully. A fragment of Sumihoroboshi. This game piece has a very important meaning for us, because it showed us for the first time that it was possible to poke a hole in the fate of June of 1983. To start from the conclusion, what? Oh, okay. Everything gets taken in by Rule Y at the end, and all our effort is wasted. But we're challenging the great law that governs this game board, Rule X, head on. We're using everything we've learned so far from other fragments, which prove we can defeat it. We grow by learning. In a game with no hope of winning, we can discover a slight chance of victory. This piece taught us that. With this game piece, Rule X was almost completely defeated. Keiichi Maibara and our other friends won't be led astray by something as pathetic as Hinmazawa syndrome and dance and tragedy any longer. It has also taught us that the rules aren't indestructible and are possible to overcome. In other words, it has given us, the ones who are on the outside of the game board, hope. It's an important fragment that serves as our turning point and a trigger for everything else. A fragment of Watanagashi. This game piece reminds us that no matter what happens on this game board, Everything is due to the curse of the Sonozaki family pulling someone's, or it's due to the curse of the Sonozaki family pulling on someone's strings. No, to put it in my words, this is a piece that makes everyone aware of the existence of Rule Z. It's hard to notice with just this piece, but this is a complicated fragment where Shion Sonozaki, while trapped in Rule X, mistaking it for Rule Y, was hurled about, comes to notice the existence of Rule Z. This is also a piece that teaches us the rules of the game board. By the way, the piece called Shion Sonozaki is a piece coming from the outside, from the game's point of view. She dislikes Sadako Hojo at first, but through this and another piece, she learns something important, challenges Rule X, and then grows to be a powerful piece to fight Rule Z. I honestly forget which rule is which. I know individually what they are, but which one's which is harder. The most ridiculous part of this fragment is that it's hidden so cunningly. It doesn't seem that way at all with just a passing glance. Learn from your mistakes. Please become a powerful piece and lend me your strength to defeat my enemies. A fragment of Miyakashi. This is a piece of Shion Sonozaki, who goes mad after being taken in by Rule X. With no room for sympathy, this is such a painful piece that one can only have pity. It distinctly identifies the keyhole of a padlock called Rule Z. Keiichi Maibara becomes a key himself to pry open this padlock. It is Shion Sonozaki wish for. He becomes a wind that clears up the stagnant air filling the village. This piece also teaches us an important lesson. Shion Sonozaki learns through this piece and then becomes a strong ally for Sadako Hojo. In that way, maybe Sadako Hojo is a piece that represents the padlock for Rule Z. Unless she is saved, Rule Z can't be defeated. And when she is saved, that means Rule Z is defeated. This piece indicates only that. That's the only thing Shion Sonozaki learned by gambling her life. But now, I think that it's very important. Every time I see Sadako and Shion arguing about pumpkins, I think about that. Dear. A fragment of Higurashi. This piece shows us the existence of the unreasonable Rule Z surrounding Sadako, reveals the most powerful adversary rule of the game board, Rule Y. Can the rules X, Y, and Z be seen now? The enemy we need to fight, the things we need to learn, all are gathered and revealed here in this fragment. At this point, it's impossible to reach Rule Y. Fighting against Rule Z's effect on Sadako is the best that can be done. But, in this piece, we make a mistake in our approach for fighting it. The outcome we gained through erroneous means is erroneous itself. Keiichi Maibara learned that through his own experiences. A tragedy doesn't possess the power to overcome tragedy. Violence doesn't possess the power to overcome violence. If they can grasp that, all the pieces on this game board will learn the true way to fight. But Takano is too powerful. The shocking end of this piece doesn't allow us to learn it that easily. Yeah, if you're watching, you can just stop this video here and go back to find out what rule X, Y, and Z is. Might include a link in the description or comments or something to help you there. A fragment of MangaGamer. Just to recap. The game piece that uncovers the invisible rule why that has been pulling the strings from the beginning. Because the impression of that is so strong, it's easy to forget about something very important. We can't forget that this piece also shows the path towards destroying Rule Z. While Rikafrude lamented Rule Z is impossible to defeat, it was hardly a match for Keiichi Maibara and the others once they learned everything they needed to. They knew the correct way to fight, and fought according to the rules of the game board. As a result, we win, and that fact is more valuable than anything for us. Keiichi Maibara taught me a lesson. There is no need to subject ourselves to any fate. The will to believe can defeat anything. The fate that I was always subjected to was created by Mio Takano's own conviction. So what he says is correct. To defeat her conviction, we need a stronger conviction of our own. A strong will can be pierced only by another strong will. We defeated rules X and Z, then challenged the final rule Y, but we needed more pieces. Each piece fought at its best, but the strength of our enemy's pieces, led by Mio Takano, was just too powerful. She didn't even give us mercy. She squished us completely, and made us restart the game all over again. Although we lost, we didn't give up the resolve in our hearts. Because we finally found the true culprit, and also found a clue for how to fight against her. We can't win with the pieces we have now. We don't have a powerful enough conviction, or a strong enough will. But Hanyu and I will keep trying. We will roll our die repeatedly, look for the greatest result, collect pieces, and try again. With a will stronger than Takano. Didn't you think of giving up several times before you got to this point? But you made it because you believed in me and followed me here. We're almost there, we can do it. Let's create the last piece. It will be the ultimate piece, and we won't need anything else. The very last piece of all. Come on, let's collect the pieces. Let's collect miracles. Please give your hopes, desires, and dreams to me. So, the final fragment of Matsuribayashi. Something to do with a festival, I forget what it was off the top of my head. After collecting miracles from all 7 fragments, I finally got a hold of this one. This fragment holds our final fate. But before we take a peek, please wait for just a little bit. The fate that's inside will be decided the moment we take a peek. Have I told you about the story of the cat in the box? Schrodinger's cat? Is the cat in the box alive or dead? If you open the box, you will know, but you won't know until you open it. It could be alive and it could be dead. In other words, before you open the box, the living cat and the dead cat simultaneously coexist. The moment you open the box and find out the truth, the incorrect answer disappears. The inside of this fragment is the same principle. The future we desire and the future Takano desires simultaneously coexist. They are opposing and denying each other. Once we take a peek, one of those futures will disappear. If we have enough pieces, we can take a look inside this fragment. But we've only had the same pieces lined up the same way on the game board. And the game under the same condition was Takano's complete victory. We've already tried that in the MangaGamer fragment. We need more pieces. Based on how the other two have seen Hanyu, I'm gonna guess and also the end of the last game, I'm gonna guess that the last piece is Hanyu herself. We need the help. Maybe it's someone else. We need the help of a piece that's powerful enough to defeat Rule Y. Till I get a hold of that piece, it's too scary to take a peek inside this fragment. But how do I get such a piece? It's a piece I've never gotten a hold of before. To obtain it, I need to look just one more time. I need one more miracle to obtain that piece. What? Leftover fragments? Do you need for final miracle? Just gonna check. Okay, yep, there's nothing else here. So leftover fragments it is. Do you need for final miracle? It's a requirement. What is this? I never noticed this tiny little fragment. Sometimes the fragment gets cracked and it breaks. Just like how the fate we believe in cracks sometimes. The damaged fate is no longer the same fate it was. Then, which fate does this piece belong to? I picked up the tiny fragment and tried to match it with the fragments I have in my hand. The last fragment I picked up was the Himatsubushi fragment. This fragment was distorted from the beginning. And look. See? This tiny piece fits perfectly. With this tiny fragment, how will the world change? What kind of miracle will occur? Oh. The whole world warped. Since I put the broken piece back where it belonged, the distortion centered on the crack. That doesn't mean I can't take a peek inside. It's already past 1985. It's a time long after Rika Furude and her friend's stories tragically ended in June 1983. Beep. Zzz. Some mild interference. An order crackled through their headsets.
前班へ室長からありがたいお言葉があるぞ。傾注しろ。
ご苦労さん。所轄署は15分くれることになってる。秒で制圧しろ。一人たりとも逃がすな。ターゲットの一人は外交官だ。警察だと悟られるな。有無を言わせず身柄を確保しろ。
So unless he's a Japanese diplomat that's just staying in Japan for now, before going back to his job elsewhere, that isn't really allowed.
ただし間違っても危害を加えるな。外交問題に発展するぞ。
Because the diplomatic community are allowed to.
外交官特権で地元暴力団と癒着している芸道どもだ。
If there's a reason diplomatic community exists, it's so that diplomacy can continue between countries. It's really important. They launder money from drugs dealing and force people into the sex trade to pay off high interest debts. So what you normally do is basically reveal it, which will damage the other country's reputation. And typically they will recall the diplomats and then punish them for the crimes so that they no longer have diplomatic immunity. Yeah. According to the local embassy, some of the victims are younger than teenagers. Normally this would be a simple case, what with the perpetrators being gangsters. But when the police found out that a foreign diplomat was involved, things got much more complicated all of a sudden. Diplomats have diplomatic immunity, so the police can't arrest them. But they knew he was an important figure in the whole scheme. There was no doubt that he was the middleman between the foreign criminal organization and the Japanese gangsters. They couldn't let him escape. It would be easy to deport him, but that wouldn't solve anything. The police had asked the embassy for assistance, but they denied the request. And the case was put on a standstill at that point. That's when they found out that the organization was going to be selling the Self-Defense Force's classified radar and missile technology secrets. Public Safety Division then had to move on the premise to protect this classified government information. And today was the day that operation was set to go.
正面は階段前に2人、地下入り口に2人、裏口に4人、全員体重の可能性大。普段より2人多いな。あの人にとっちゃ2秒余計にかかるだけさ。容赦ねえからな、あの人。
聞こえるか赤坂。お前が切り込み隊長だ。用心して隠れ。よし、開始しろ。
赤坂了解。作戦を開始する。
A man suddenly appeared around the corner downtown. It was Akasaka. He displayed none of the naivety that he did when he first met Rika. When he got to the entrance of the underground club, a bouncer with a heavy foreign accent stopped him.
ここ、会員制。お兄さん、会証ある？
Akasaka pulled a card out after being asked. It was a card that was very difficult to forge, so he could only get one. As the man on point, he was the one to receive it. The bouncer let Akasaka in after confirming he had a membership card.
赤坂さん、地上の護衛突破。地下階段を降りてます。
頼むぞ、赤坂。
At the bottom of the staircase, there was an overly decorated door like the ones you'd see at a high-class club. The venomous glow of the cocktail lights lit it up, silently warning everyone it was an entrance to the den of evil.
いらっしゃいませ。会員証を拝見いたします。
The guard of the entrance took the membership card and put it through the card reader on the wall. Beep. An error sound. Slight perspiration can be seen on Akasaka's forehead. The guard swiped the card a couple of times more. Beep. Beep.
赤坂さん、手間取ってます。
まさかカードの認証が変えられたか。赤坂にトラブルが発生したら作戦変更するぞ。赤坂の安全を速攻で確保しろ。
The expression of the guard with him steadily grew dour. His right hand reached inside of his jacket, probably fingering his gun. Ding! The buzzer suddenly rang with a delightful tone. The card reader flashed a green light. Immediately after that, the lock on the door opened up.
お待たせしました。どうぞお通りください。
The guard pulled his hand out of his jacket and opened up the heavy door. Loud music and flashing colourful lights spilled out from the inside. From within that, a well-dressed guard appeared to welcome Akasaka. At this moment, his first mission was accomplished. Having acted as a go signal for the remaining units, Akasaka was also in the dangerous position of being in enemy territory all by himself. The door was the biggest obstacle for their ambush. The door locked automatically, so whenever it was closed, it was also sealed that way. It was a solid door, and nearly impossible to open from the outside. Somebody had to not only open that door, but keep it open for several seconds in order for the raid to begin. Akasaka was the only one who could do that.
赤坂、入り口確保。
作戦開始。
The complex on the other side of the club was getting a new tenant, and there were 2 trucks parked in front of the building. But of course, that was just a disguise. The door to one of the trucks opened, and several dozen plainclothes investigators jumped out. The same thing was happening at the back door too. Ground-level guards noticed this and began to draw their guns, but were taken down immediately by nearby investigators who had been pretending to be innocent bystanders. Several dozen investigators quietly went down the underground stairs. These narrow underground stairs were another obstacle to their operation. Everything would end up on the security camera. The raid would become known within a few seconds. For that matter, a pushing of the security button would make it impossible for the lock to be opened from the outside. That's why they had to secure the door before the ambush. Guards on both sides of Akasaka noticed the loud footsteps coming down the stairs. The well-dressed guard also realized that something was wrong. The 3 guards shifted their attention from Akasaka to the stairs behind him. And as he sensed that attention shift, Akasaka took a quick, deep breath and then stopped breathing entirely. Huh? The 2 guards standing beside him suddenly rose into the air in strange positions. I was thinking maybe they're gonna pump nitrogen down, knock them out or something, but rising into the air? Oh, he's hit them. Akasaka had determined his position relative to the 2 guards next to him, so he didn't need to check with his eyes. But even so, his fist had been driven into their faces with such precise accuracy. His moves were well-trained ones, and showed no mercy against evil. They were as destructive as armor-piercing ammunition. And furthermore, Akasaka had retracted his arms at the same speed he struck. Everything looked so strange in the flashing lights. The man who witnessed all of this probably couldn't figure out what had just happened. The two guards were up in the air in strange positions. The man who had been standing in front of him was now crouching low. And that frozen moment shattered. The well-dressed guard was smashed into the ceiling, and shortly afterwards came crashing down onto the floor. Later on, while slurping liquid food, he would desperately try to remember whether it was a fist or a leg that broke his jaw. He'd probably never quite recall it. Rather luckily, the way his body fell blocked the door, so Akasaka didn't have to hold it open any longer.
赤坂突入するおい待て後続と合流しろ赤坂
The room was filled with loud music, but everyone had already noticed the prohaha the entrance.
全員床に伏せろ
As soon as Akasaka bellowed his warning, screams filled the club. Most people immediately hit the floor as if trying to proclaim their innocence. But all the guards reacted quickly to Akasaka. In the midst of all this, there were a few people who were trying to make their escape through the back alongside several guards. Akasaka restarted his breathing once, and then stopped it again, and then ran after them like a wolf. He jumped up onto the table, smashing expensive bottles of alcohol and scattering glasses of ice cubes made from the icebergs in the Arctic. A foreign bodyguard, whose previous profession must have been a professional boxer, thoughtlessly stood in front of Akasaka. With a heavy accent, he tried to taunt his opponent. But Akasaka couldn't have cared less about that. The only display that man was able to put on for him was that he was able to block Akasaka's attack, but wasn't even an effective guard. The power of Akasaka's punches was so incredible that he simply broke the man's bones in an attempt to block them. The man's arm warped in a strange way. The moment after the agony showed on his face, Akasaka's left arm ground into it. Akasaka, you see, is right-handed. That man should consider himself grateful that he was able to get away with a mere orbital fracture. Thinking that this was his chance, another man attempted to tackle Akasaka's arm from behind. He assumed that no matter how strong a man was, he'd go down quickly when attacked from behind. He also assumed that as Akasaka was concentrating in front of him, he wouldn't be expecting an attack from behind to begin with. That would only be true if Akasaka was just concentrating on his front. Indeed, the attacker was very wrong, for Akasaka was no longer even thinking about the man before him. Akasaka knew exactly when and what was about to happen. The experience he'd built up to this day taught him that. His body, more than his mind, remembered the timing for when menaces to society like these would make their moves from behind him. Akasaka's attack continued fluidly from the left arm punch that he struck against the ex-boxer. His left arm retracted, and at the same time he arced his left leg around beautifully as he crashed into the man approaching him from behind. The dull signified that his nose had been broken. But Akasaka already knew that. Akasaka continued his motion and directed a decisive right blow to the side of his assailant's head. The man slammed into the wall, bounced off of it, rolling on the floor. Akasaka took another breath. Under the glare of the dazzling club lights, the guards realized they were up against a demon. Yes, but he realized that there was no way to take him down. The guards were being paid to deal with humans. Fighting demons just wasn't in their job description. At that moment, backup finally arrived. Maybe finally isn't a suitable word. Everything that happened did so in over a matter of seconds. The time it took for Akasaka to down those 5 guards was a span of merely 2 breaths. Hang on, didn't he say get down on the floor? I feel like that's more than just a couple of breaths. Thanks to Akasaka's furious action, the flow of events was already set. Akasaka's intimidating first strike shattered the gang leader's will to run. They were all down on the floor, but one of them began smiling. Akasaka grabbed him by the collar and threw him against the concrete wall.
私は外交官です。
そりゃよかったな。給料いくらだ？
これ外交問題になります。大使館へ連絡させてくだ。
With a dragon-like roar, Akasaka's right fist pounded a wall right next to the diplomat's head. Immediately after that, his left fist pounded a wall on the other side of that head. Soon enough, Akasaka pounded the wall 7 times, each just a sliver away from the diplomat. His fists were easily powerful enough to crush the man's head. The diplomat crumbled to the floor.
Akasaka, target確保.
Further investigations discovered a secret getaway route that even public safety didn't know about. Dozens of Soviet military-grade machine guns were found. If Akasaka hadn't stopped them there in the nightclub, they would have escaped, or even worse. The operation might have ended with a brutal death toll on both sides. All thanks to how well Akasaka executed his duty, the operation was completed without a single shot fired.
確保しろ。急げ。地元警察が来るぞ。全員を荷台に押し込め。
Since the foreign diplomat was involved, they had to make sure it didn't look as though the whole operation was carried out by the police. Instead, it was made to look like a simple gang war. They were dumped the useless gang members and hand over the target to the police. Of course, before handing them over, they'd make sure he spilled everything he knew. That diplomatic pig would be used as a negotiation device by another part of public safety. They found plenty of evidence that said pig was tied to an underground criminal organization. Not wanting a persona non grata on their hands, the embassy would likely cut all ties with him. The rest would be the business of other departments. Public safety's job was to take care of the things regular police couldn't deal with.
赤坂は無事か。応答しろ、赤坂。
こちら赤坂。撤収中。
また無茶をしやがって。
And I think I will end it here for today. I don't know how long this part will continue, but it might be like an hour long, so I don't know. So I will leave it here. Surely the game won't end within like 15 minutes, so there's definitely going to be another part. But until then, I hope you've enjoyed. Let me know any feedback you have in the comments. Until next time, see ya.